Hi there, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Higher Ground, where today's topic will be resilience and mental wellness. So, today we're diving into one of the most important conversations in the workplace, and we all need to approach wellness from multiple angles because true balance comes from combining science and heart. And it's not just about nutrition or getting enough sleep or decreasing our stress levels. I mean, all of that is super important and really critical to our health, but there's so much more to it. And we all face stress and pressure and change, but how do we actually respond to it? And I think that's what makes the true difference. So, joining us today to unpack this, blending both the science and heart, is Dr. Laurie, a neuroscientist, performance coach, and living example of resilience. Welcome, Laurie.
Hi, well, thanks very much for the opportunity to share my story. I always like to share sort of my what I learned because it helps me as well. Thank you.
Amazing. That is a true point. Unpacking it yourself, you just learn so much more about your own journey. So I love that. And I mean, just to give some more insight to Dr. Laurie. So after a life-changing cycling accident, Laurie rebuilt not just his body, but his entire outlook. So shifting his focus to how our brain, nervous system, and emotions drive our well-being. So, Dr. Laurie, I think, let's dive straight into it. I mean, it's such a privilege and an honor to have you on our podcast. We feel like this will really give our viewers, our listeners, our audience a really different spin and mindset when it comes to resilience and how they can apply that in the workplace. So Dr. Laurie, how do you define true resilience? Like, what does it look like in practice and especially in the workplace?
Yeah, to me, there's two things that stand out. It's the one is the ability to bounce back from adversity, and the other one is to keep going. And so just to unpack it a little bit more, I mean, to me, it was after my accident, I basically lost my body. The thing I identified with most, I had a very fit and strong and powerful body that could do almost anything I put my mind to, I could do it. But then, I mean, I obviously got a very severe traumatic brain injury. I broke my neck, broke my back, lost my leg above the knee. So a lot of things, my olfactory nerves were severed, so I can't smell. I struggle to walk on uneven terrain. I can't run. So there's a lot of things I can't do anymore. So my body is not able to bounce back from being disabled, physically disabled. So the key is what is it that bounces back? And then I've worked out that it's me, the person, the human being, Laurie, living in this world. It bounced back. No matter what happens to my body, I can still bounce back. And we'll touch on that later as well. And the other thing is to keep going. So to keep going means you've actually going somewhere. And the most important thing is that you know where you're going. And that's
Mm,
the concept of, and I want to unpack a bit more about the head perspective versus a heart perspective and the importance of aligning those two. Because to me, the head is almost like a Google's map. So unless you give Google Maps a destination, it's just going to spin around. So you can drive that way and it's going to go this way and that way. You actually need a destination. So that's the most thing. You've got to know where you're going to, what is the objective for what you're doing so you can keep going despite the adversity. So those are the two things I think is, to me, talks about resilience. Is you actually resilient by bouncing back in order to achieve something.
yeah,
Whereas toughness, maybe you're toughing out the situation, but if you don't know why you're toughing it out, it's like you can get to a breaking point. So I'm toughing this out, but I'm just surviving, but it's not helping me. Or to
yeah.
endure means you're enduring something, but why are you enduring it? So I think that's why resilience to me is it's a more nuanced perspective, and but those two things are very important, is to bounce back
Absolutely.
and to keep going.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And I also feel like you mentioned an important piece there is, is it truly just breaking your soul? Do you get to a point where you just keep going and you're not getting the result that you want? And maybe that's a good point where you kind of need to just reset and create a different strategy of how you're going to get to your goal. And I'm just thinking about it from a recruitment perspective, Dr. Laurie,
Mm.
is we work on multiple roles with multiple candidates, with multiple clients. And a lot of the times, we don't always appoint, we do a lot of disappointment because we have so many people in the process and only one can get the role. And sometimes it's not always our candidate. So it is about being able to bounce back and keep going and knowing what your purpose is. And the work that you do is incredibly meaningful. So for us, that's how we kind of, how would you say, connect the dots when you're talking about bouncing back and keep going. So, Dr. Laurie, in terms of stress, I mean, stress can be both a teacher and a trap. I mean, stress is not always a bad thing. I do believe stress is quite good in terms of helping you perform really well and really testing your boundaries, like testing your capacity. And I think it's important around how we manage that. Maybe you can unpack that a little bit for us.
Yeah, I think that's crucial because we've got literally so much energy in our bodies, and sometimes we don't know how to manage it. It's just the managing of the energy. But the important thing is to put that energy towards obtaining your goal, your objective, what you're trying to achieve. And I think there's two things. We have a life goal you're trying to achieve, it's basically like you creating a life you want to live, but also you want to become the person you want to be living that life. You don't want to be on this hamster wheel or the treadmill, which I keep in my mind is like a treadmill. And you're on
Yeah.
that treadmill, you can keep going if you've got an objective you're working towards. And it can't just be a treadmill that you're on the treadmill. You've got to have it's got to be actually like a path, not a treadmill. So if I just my own story, I mean, I was at school and then you always had something, the exams, you're going to next standard. But you always had an objective. Then you go, I mean, in my day, national service. And then after that, you go to university. But you
Yes.
get caught in those short-term objectives. And before you
Mm.
know it, you start identifying with those short-term objectives. And that's actually what happened to me because at school I felt a bit lost. I didn't know how to fit in. I wasn't feeling part of the crowd. I wanted to go home and play. But now you taught all these things you don't want to know. And you got to identify, not identify, I think you just got to be able to express yourself. So my natural instinct was to express myself on the sports field because I was good at most sport. So I could let my legs do the talking. And that was actually set me on a bad sort of tangent because I got to university and I did sports science and I tested myself and I realized I had talent. I could actually go out and maybe do the Y Ironman, maybe and win the Y Ironman. So I had an objective to win the Y Ironman. It was in my heart it was like a heartfelt goal because I knew the numbers in my heart. I could do it.
Mm.
And winning races makes you feel euphoric. It makes you fit in. People accept you. It's like everything just works beautifully together. But then the reality is I had to spend 30 hours a week training, in order to be the
Wow.
sportsman, plus do my PhD, maybe 40 hours a week. So you got the 70-hour work week that you got to be on target all the time. And you literally can't break down. Like if I think
Yeah.
back, like Monday morning, you wake up at 4 o'clock because you got to be in a swimming pool by 5 o'clock, 2 hours
Wow.
swim. And then in the lunchtime you go for a cycle, and then evening you go for a run, and that's 6 days a week, racing the weekends. And if you get
Yeah.
sick, you get big back, so you can't push too hard. But once you're on that treadmill, but it's something you want to do, so it's a heartfelt goal. But
Yeah.
it just becomes then you think, well, okay, then I win the Ironman, I get my PhD, but what next? Is there something else I have to do to keep this thing going? And then you
Yeah.
got to sort of so you got to have like a objective that you're building a life, creating a life, but you got to know what is the life you're trying to create for yourself and who is it you want to become. Then
Yeah.
then then you can because when I woke up Monday morning at 4 o'clock, I think I don't want to go swim. But you think if I can get this right, I can win the Ironman. Then you focus on your goal. Then it's
Yeah.
like you get this energy. Okay, now I'm going to do it, and I'm going to win the next race. And it's like you get this positive feedback, and you can
Yeah.
do it once you got the head and the heart connected. I think
Mm.
that's crucial. And I think for your
Yeah.
recruitment as well, uh, your workplace, you got to connect with the heart. There's got to be a heart connection, like what I call a bottoms up drive. And if you don't
Mm.
have the bottoms up drive, you can't sustain what you're doing. You can have a head goal, but if you don't have the bottom up drive to want to achieve the why, if you want to achieve it, it's just not sustainable. And I know that because after my accident, I tried to get back into my cycling and running. Well, I couldn't run but swimming and cycling and trying to get back my fitness. But it was from the head. My heart couldn't buy in because I'm not. So, and there's this term I want to introduce now. I mean, I don't know if people know it, but I just heard it the other day, literally. Somebody told me
Yeah.
what happened to me after my accident. I had this thing called identity foreclosure. So I
Mm,
identified as an athlete. So my whole being, I did exercise science. I wanted to do a PhD in exercise science, become a exercise consultant, do the Y Ironman. So my whole being was just oriented towards being a sportsman. But then
mm,
what happens if you can't do that anymore? And so my whole identity was foreclosed. I identified as an athlete, and then I couldn't do that anymore. Then I had to like work out what am I actually wanting out of life.
yeah.
So
Rebuilding
that's the sort of
yourself.
the bottoms up drive.
Yeah.
Once you connect with who you are, then it makes it
Mm,
all the easier. But if you don't have that bottoms up drive, then you're going to really
yeah.
struggle to sustain something.
Yeah. And I think that just reminds us that the heart piece has to be there. You have to
Yeah.
have the love, the purpose, the drive, the passion to do what it is that you're doing. Otherwise, how do you feel yourself? Because the brain isn't enough, you know? I think you've really pointed that out, that there has to be heart in everything that you do. I really love a lot of those points that you've mentioned, and you have to find the motivation to keep going. Just as we go back to that first piece, you know, you got to get up and keep going. And it is about finding that resilience to do that every single time, and remind yourself of the bigger picture. What am I working towards?
Mm.
Am I just getting into the pool at 4 o'clock in the morning for fun, or am I actually driven by some sort of outcome or achievement for myself personally? So I think there's a lot of questions in all of it, but I think I love those aspects that you mentioned. And I also feel like mental health has come up even more so from COVID days. So from 2020, mental health and mental wellness really became a hot topic where people really started to open up about it. Um, and so we believe that it's really important to have these honest conversations in the workplace, that you are connected to your staff, your employees, and you know what's actually going on a personal front, because that does affect their performance at work, and maybe their energy is different or their outcomes are different. So I mean, the workplace often talks about wellness, but not many actually talk about it. It's like it's this topic and this theme, but are we really talking about it? And what does that mean, and what does it look like? So I think healthy wellness conversations are really important for leaders as well as amongst the team. And I mean, do you have anything that you could share about that in terms of being open, being vulnerable in the workplace, and how that can really affect your performance?
Yeah, that's a very good question, that because that was really my situation. I was, doing sports science, exercise science. I was an
Yeah.
athlete, so my whole everything was geared towards, being a super champion on the sports field. But then when you go back to work or back to study, but now you've got three disabilities, and you're doing
Mm,
sports science, and you're all, your mates and your colleagues, and you try and fit in. You don't feel you fit in anymore. So I think that's the key of workplace wellness. You've got to fit
mm,
in, and you also got to um, feel that you are. Yeah, I think the three A's. You got to be um, accepted, acknowledged, and affirmed at work. If you don't
yes.
have that enough of that, then it also becomes a battlefield. You got to fit into the company culture, and the thing is also understand the company. They're very goal directed. They got outcomes, key performance
Hmm.
indicators, and if you don't produce that, then the company can't sustain, can't keep going. So the number one priority is always the goal direction, and you got to be able to fit in. But if you can your own personal goals, if you can align that with the business you're in, or the company, then
Yes.
it'll work beautifully. So I think it's also up to us to choose the business or the company that aligns with what we want out of life. So we can, not always possible, especially if you fall into it, but there's got to be some kind of alignment. But what helped me a lot was, and I actually did a lot of research on this, and I wrote a big research article on this, is that
Yeah.
what I call motivated behavior, because you need the bottoms up drive, because then you can
Mm,
sustain whatever you do, you can sustain it. And then I
mm,
worked out this. Well, I mean, if we look at animals, mammals out in nature, there's only three motivated behaviors. all our behaviors can lump into those three. And it's
Mm.
defensive behavior because we
Mm-hmm.
know we're in fight or flight. If you study for
Yes.
exam at the end of the year, you can study all night because you've got the deadline now of the exam. You get this energy. It's like you don't want to fail, but that's not a nice. It's adrenaline. So you can
Yes.
use it, but it's only for a short period. And then there's the ingestive behavior. We all know when we're hungry or thirsty, you're going to get up and get your food. It's like without thinking and
Yeah.
without you don't even have to generate energy because you think for yourself, you're sitting studying, and you remember, oh, there's roast chicken in the oven. I mean, you might be tired and you say, I can't do any more, but then roast chicken in the oven, you get up, you get energy from somewhere, you goal directed, you don't think, you just get to the kitchen, eat, and before you know it, wow, enjoyed this meal. And you get all this energy, but as soon as you finish, then you think, oh, I'll go back to my studying, then energy drops again, and you start
Mm.
thinking. So you get out of that sort of that motivated behavior. So that's what you want to
Yeah.
tap into. And the last one is called reproductive behavior, but it's in human terms, it's nurturing behavior. And that's the
Mm.
one we all want, the nurturing behavior. And that's sort of where you release oxytocin and serotonin, and you've got a balanced autonomic nervous system, and everything just feels good. Like, I mean, the example I always use is when I was, my undergrad years, I mean, I stayed in town. My girlfriend, she stayed in Noordhoek, and I just met her. And
Yeah.
the only way I could get to visit her was on the bicycle. And there was like three big climbs. I had to go over Kloof Neck Road. I had to go over, Suikerbos, I had to go over Chapman's Peak. But you're cycling and you think of spending time with your girlfriend and you're going up the climbs and you don't even feel it's effort, but you don't think of the effort. It's almost like you've got the energy because it's a nurturing behavior, gives you that boost because you're trying to
Yes.
achieve your objective.
Yeah.
And that's like because you've got a clear objective, nurturing
Yes.
behavior, bottoms up drive. So you always got
Yeah.
to find something that's giving you that bottoms up drive, but something you want to achieve. Your goal,
Yeah.
like a goal you want to manifest.
Yeah.
And it's also what I realized is that all our behaviors are due to a biological need. Like think of
Mm.
hunger.
Yeah.
We want food because we're hungry. We want to drink something because we're thirsty.
Mm-hmm.
Defensive behavior, we feel fearful or we feel angry, we feel bitter.
Yes.
There's something jealousy, there's something making us behave in a certain way.
Mm.
And I mean, yeah, so nurturing behaviors because we want to be accepted, we want to belong, we want to be in a place where we're not going to get judged. So when I went to
Yeah.
my girlfriend, we just chatted about everything and anything. It was just a complete, yeah, just that you feel you belong, you accepted, you acknowledge, you're affirmed.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing, but you don't
Yeah.
get that in at a workplace. So,
Yeah.
but the point I'm making is we lack those things. We feel we're not fitting in. We feel we're not acknowledged enough. We feel not affirmed enough. We feel
Mm.
we might, we're not performing well enough. There's always something that we lack. And
Yeah.
if you can tap into what is it that I'm lacking, that I'm
Yeah.
looking for in this job I'm doing now, how can it
Mm-hmm.
fulfill this need I've got? And the beauty of the whole thing is that once you tap into that,
Mm.
it's like
You're
your
set.
lack actually becomes better when you can help somebody else with their lack.
Yes. That's
And
also
that is
true.
the most beautiful thing about being a human
Yeah.
being, because the more we help other people, the better we feel. But there's
Yeah.
obviously a limit. You
That's
can't help
true.
others at your own expense. So you've got to
Yes.
get that right. What is in your power, you can help. And once you're kind and helpful to the other person, that makes you feel better. So you got to
Yeah.
find a workplace where you can help the other people to also meet their lack and
Yeah.
build up.
Yeah.
But it's
It's
but it's
a
a,
rep-
it's a tricky one because you can't. I mean, there's this term vulnerability, and it's very
yes.
important. But the thing is, it's not like you got to be vulnerable about all your faults and all the stuff because that can very easily like be used against you in a kind of way. It's like people say,
Mm.
oh, they can because in the workplace always there's obviously you want to get to the next level. And if you perceive that it is a weakness, people are going to say, well, we can't hire this person because you're not going to get to that next level. So I'd
Yeah.
rather talk about sort of a biological need, bring it back to biology, like hunger,
Yeah.
like thirst, like
Mm-hmm.
love. We all need that. It's like it's a
Yeah.
need, and if we can help others to meet their needs and to
Mm.
understand that their behavior is driven by something they lack,
Yeah.
and then what it is they lack. But it's just biological. We all need to eat. It's hunger.
Yeah.
It's not a
Basic
weakness.
needs.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's
Yeah.
just this the same as being accepted. It's a biological need. We don't
Yeah.
not accepted in our place of work, then it's like there's a feeling inside of us like a hunger, and it doesn't go
Mm.
away. So you
Yeah.
got to meet that biological need in some way.
Amazing.
And if we
Yeah.
can, just so and that is the beauty of being human, is that we help each other, we feel better by helping each other, but
Yes.
not to get caught out in that sort of people pleasing. So
Yes.
there's
A
always a
fine
balance,
line.
a very fine
I
line.
love that,
But
Dr.
that's why I
Laurie.
love being a scientist because of biology. You can work
Mm.
out the frequency in the brain, the frequency in the heart. Once they align, then you know you're in the
Yes.
right track. If there's no alignment with the heart and the head, and even now,
Yes.
my latest PhD student, I must say, we actually found alignment between the mind and the heart. And that's very
Mhm.
difficult because the mind is almost a separate system to the heart. So
Mm.
once you can find correlations between the mind and the heart, then you know you're in
Yes.
the right sort of on the right track.
Right space. Absolutely. I love those points. And I think it is about looking for that, um, how would you say that, that piece that drives you, whether it's anything that
Yeah.
uplifts you, finding the things that make you feel fantastic, whether it's kindness or love, or it's going to the gym and doing sport, because that can also help you feel, it can give you all the good hormones that you need to get back at your desk and focus on your output. So there's all of those elements, and there's the types of the energy and the hormones and the activities that make you feel absolutely amazing and
Yeah, but
focus on.
that's a good point. But just to clarify, you don't
Mm.
want to kind of chase the feeling, but you want to be in
Yes.
a
No, you
state.
don't
So
want it to be an addictive thing. Yes.
yeah, you want
Yes.
it. So if you're in a nurturing state, those
Yes.
chemicals are going to get released because you've got objective. If you're in
Yes.
a yeah, so it's always the goal directed. So when you go to
Yes.
the gym, you've got to have an objective. Like when I went swimming in the pool, like I know I want to win the Ironman, so I had an objective going to the pool. So I got into that performance state because I had a
Yes.
goal to work towards. But if you just
Yes.
go to the gym to like feel good, there's nothing wrong with that. But that's not sustainable. You're going to get to a point where you say, I'd rather go and eat something to feel good, or I'd rather go and spend time with my friends, which is nothing wrong with that. But it's just then you're
Yeah.
not going to go to the gym. Okay, this
Yeah.
is too hard because you're trying to do it top down. You've got to do it like
Yeah.
being in the correct state.
Exactly. No, I think those are great points. And I think, again, Dr. Laurie, if we look at our days, I mean, sometimes we are so busy and so
Mm.
overwhelmed and we're doing so much, right? Are there any tips or a ritual that you can share with individuals that are listening to this podcast that is almost just like a reset a ritual? Because we do find ourselves having a bit of a wobble during the day and we're so
Mm.
scattered and we're all over the place because there's so much to do. Is there any sort of tip or guidance that you would share?
Well, I can only say what helped with me a lot because after my accident, I mean, I used to, when I get too much overwhelmed my head and too much stress, and I go for a run in the mountain, it just clears everything. But you still focus on your objectives. It's not like you're
Yeah.
running away from your issues. You're just trying to regather yourself, as you say. You're just trying to like get back to sort of, yeah, back to like feeling like you're present.
Yes.
So I always, I just always listen to my heart, because I know if I pick up, there's too much energy. I call it nervous energy in my heart, and I
Mm.
know there's something not quite right. I'm being overwhelmed. There's too many deadlines in my head. So that's the
Yeah.
thing. What you got to teach yourself is to give yourself one instruction. So you
Yeah.
focus on one task at a time. So you might have
Yes.
10 tasks in a day or 20, but you can't
Mm.
think of all 20 at the same time because all that stress is going to go into your body. Then you're going to go into defensive. Once you're in defensive, you pick it up in your heart because there's energy, excess energy in your heart. You're restless.
Mm.
There's like this nervous energy in your heart. So what I
Yeah.
do, I get up and I do 10 minutes of movement, just me movement sequences, like slow
Mm.
rhythmic movement.
Yes.
That's a good point. I'll put that up on afterwards and on your at the bottom there, because I did
Yes.
a intervention for the NHS in England, the
Yes.
National Health System. During COVID, they wanted intervention people could do at home. And I
Yes.
just put up it's like a 10-minute video of a movement sequence I do myself, just to put me back in my body, to get to channel all the energy and take the business out of your brain, put you back in your body, and you get your heart and your head aligned again. And it actually, you
Yes.
feel amazing after that, after just 10 minutes
Yeah.
of movement training. And you
Clarity.
can sit down and keep going.
Absolutely. Brilliant. Dr. Laurie, thank you so much. I would like to give you a moment just to share how people can get hold of you. I mean, if this podcast really stood out to you, you resonated with a lot of what Dr. Laurie said, and you want to reach out to him, Dr. Laurie, what are your details around different platforms that you use or your website? Would you like to share that?
Yeah, I've got a website, but it's actually been a bit dormant. But I'm actually, now that I'm doing all this stuff, I must actually, yeah, I'm gonna start sort of putting more blogs on, and because this mental
Yes.
health, mental well-being is quite topical. And as I mentioned before, when I start talking about it, it actually like sort of gives me energy
Yes,
to
it
give other
reignites your
people
spark.
tips, and yeah, so it's a self-sustaining thing, and it keeps going. So it's my website is www.keepingcalm.co. Keeping calm is one word, and .co, not .com, .co. And
Okay.
also, I mean, I'll put my email down there, my Gmail account.
Yes.
It's rauch.laurie7@gmail.com.
Perfect.
And then also I'll put my WhatsApp number there if people want to reach out to me.
Yes.
But yeah,
Fantastic. Brilliant. Brilliant, Dr. Laurie. We'll make sure that we definitely add all those details in our caption. But yeah, Dr. Laurie, just a big thank you. Thank you for sharing your time and your wisdom and your journey with us as well. And also just opening up and expressing, all that happened to you and how you got up again and carried on going and some of the tips and tools that you crafted throughout and that you now get to share with everyone else. So thank you so much for your time. I truly appreciate it. And yes, we will see you on the next podcast. Thank you so much.
thank you very much. Really enjoyed this chat.